and welcome to episode 146, I believe, of the Graceful Tangle podcast. I actually forgot to check what episode this is, so hopefully 146 is correct. I think it is. Anyways, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to another podcast episode. I'm so happy that you are here. I have a few things to share with you guys today. I have 4 different blankets to talk about, which is a little bit ridiculous. A lot ridiculous actually, but I am just having so much fun making blankets lately. I'm trying to really pare down the amount of yarn that I have, and so blankets are just like a great way to do that, especially if you have a lot of the same kind of yarn. Definitely the story behind one of the blankets that I have to share today. So anyways, let's just hop right into it today with a couple of finished objects. Alrighty, the first finished object that I have today is kind of a design. It is a design. It is going to release very soon, but it is also totally finished. So I'm just going to go ahead and share it. And that is this blanket. I am absolutely obsessed with how this turned out. I love it so much. So I used Hobie Cotton 8/8 color packs. I used 4 of them, combined them all to make a whole bunch of granny squares, and then I seamed them together using the whip stitch and white yarn so it is visible, but that's kind of exactly what I was going for, honestly. And then I just added this little edging, and it turned out so good. I just love it so much. This, if you're curious, is like my favorite square of the entire blanket. I just love it so much, which is why it's on a corner spot so that I can see it all the time. But yeah, like I also really love that one. I just love how every single square is different from the one next to it. No 2 squares are exactly alike, and I just think that is so fun. Like I've always wanted to make a blanket like this, and now I finally have. So anyways, so happy with this. Like I said, this pattern is going to be releasing very soon, so stay tuned for that. It will be written to use like this exact yarn, these measurements, all of those things, but it's also super easy to customize. So you can adjust the size by making the squares larger or smaller, or more squares or less squares. You can use a completely different yarn. You can make them solid colored instead of multicolored. It's completely up to you. The possibilities are quite literally endless. But yeah, I just want to be able to have a pattern to go along with this blanket regardless. So anyways, that is finished object number 1. And then my next finished object is another blanket. This one I kind of made spur of the moment. So the family, I'm a nanny, if you don't already know that. I have 2 jobs outside of the home right now, one as a nanny and one as a barista. And my nanny job, they recently had their 3rd little one just last week, and so I had a few days off kind of as they were getting settled. So I had like lots of unexpected time at home basically. So I spent that by hunkering down and making this blanket, which was really fun, honestly. So here's what it looks like. It is really big. There are also a few random ends here and there, so just excuse those. So all of this yarn is Hobie Amigo Chunky, I think is what it's called. It's whatever the bulky weight is. I forget if it's called chunky or bulky. But it's a bulky weight 5, kind of heavier than that in my opinion, just a little bit. It's very comparable to Knit Picks Brava bulky, but a little bit thicker than that, again, in my opinion. So anyways, basically what I did is just compiled all of the Amigo Chunky that I had in stash, and then I just like did 1 row of every color until I ran out of that color. I did not do much color play, but I did try a little bit. Like I wanted to space out the white a good bit because it was obviously the lightest color. I didn't want to do 2 rows of one color. I didn't want to accidentally do like, yellow, white, yellow or something like that. So I did do a little bit of color play, but not a ton, not to the point where it was like annoying or cumbersome or anything. And then I just added a 2 round single crochet border around the entire blanket, and I love the way that looks. I had a little bit of this light gray color, and I didn't use it in the blanket at all, so it's just like a different color for the border. But like I said, I really like the way that it looks. And I just did the granny stripe stitch, like that's it. I just chained. My goal was for it to be 50 by 60 inches, which I think it is actually. And so I just chained, like I did a little gauge swatch, ensured that I basically had enough yarn, which I did, and then I just chained, as much as I thought was going to be a good width, and then crocheted until I ran out of yarn, and it was so fun. It was seriously so fun to make. I absolutely love how it turned out, and I love the colors so much. Like, it's just so, it's so fun. I love it. I love it. I love it. I have so many blankets that I have made now. It's ridiculous. I actually got rid of a few recently, and I still have so many, but that's okay. I love them. I can't wait to fill my future house with all of the handmade things. It's going to be so, so special. Alrighty, the last finished object that I have is kind of an interesting one, but I also love the way that it turned out. So I recently got a new Kindle. If you're curious, this is the 2022 Kindle, the black color, but you know, color doesn't change the size. And I have this clear case for it, which I love, but I don't have anything like that covers the screen, which is totally fine. I just don't want to accidentally damage it. And so when I am like traveling or putting it in another bag, I wanted to have like a little sleeve to slip it into. And so that's exactly what I made. I crocheted this the other day. It was like super quick, and here's what it looks like. I wanted it to be a snug fit, which it is. I didn't want it to like fall out or anything. And this is what it looks like. So it's just this nice little crocheted sleeve for the Kindle to slip into. Like I said, easy to get in and out, but it's also not going to just fall out when it's in there, which I really like. I actually want to make a couple of more of these in like different yarns and patterns, and maybe write up a pattern or even sell them if anybody's interested in that. But yeah, it was so fun to just kind of make something for fun on the side. And I love how it turned out. It was like exactly what I needed it to be. And I love these yarn colors as well. So anyways, and that is it for finished objects this week. Kind of a weird array of makes this week for sure. And so many blankets, oh my goodness. But I do have a couple of whips to chat about. Actually one that isn't a design. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Alrighty, like I said, I have one work in progress this week that isn't a design, and it is, like I said, a blanket. So I am making my second polychromatic blanket. This is a pattern that I released a while back. It is a crochet blanket that is made of 100 single crochet squares that are joined together as you go. Such a fun blanket, such a fun pattern. I absolutely love it still. It's one of my absolute favorite patterns that I've designed. And so I've had this yarn in stash for a while, and I've been wanting to make this blanket with this yarn for a while as well. So I'm finally doing that. I have 10 different colors of Knit Picks Brava Sport. And so I am basically doing one color. That doesn't make sense. One square of each color per column, and then making them like diagonal, basically stacking it onto each other. I don't know how to explain this, that makes sense. In the first column, I started with the purple. In the second, I started with the orange. In the third, I started with this teal color. And then next, I'll start with this yellow. And then my hope is that it'll just kind of look like a diagonal color-wise. I'm not doing a good job explaining this at all. You're just gonna have to wait until it's like closer to being done, I guess, for it to really come together. But I think it's gonna look super fun. Yeah, I really like it. It's been a lot of fun to make so far. Completely mindless. It's literally just single crochet over and over. So you don't really have to think about it, which is very nice and welcomed in this season of life. But yeah, and that's that. That's about it. I actually have this yarn to make the Hue Shift blanket, which is a knit blanket pattern that Knit Picks has. And I just hadn't made it yet. I had started it and I didn't love it. And so when I designed this pattern originally a couple years ago, I had the thought to use this yarn to make another one, and I'm finally getting around to doing that. So I absolutely love it so far. It's been so fun to work on, and I cannot wait to have it done. And just marvel at it. I love all of the colors together. It's just such a fun pattern, such a fun blanket. And yeah, I'll link that pattern down below if you want to check it out. You could easily do it like with scraps. You could change it and do like each column a different color instead of a whole bunch of different squares. The possibilities are really endless, and I love including that in my patterns, if you can't tell. So anyways, that is it for works in progress that aren't designs. I have 2 designs that I'm currently working on, and yeah, let's go ahead and talk about those. Okay, first design is, you guessed it, another blanket. This one you have seen a few times already. It's pretty slow going, but that's okay too. not a big deal. So this blanket I am designing in collaboration with Hobie. Oh my gosh, look at this. I love it so much. And just like the drape, it's amazing. I can't wait to have this one done. Okay, so this is the wave blanket. It's supposed to kind of imitate the sea a little bit with just the color choices and the texture and the stitch pattern that I'm doing. And obviously the drape is just magical. Like, I just love it so much. I am using Hobie Friends wheel. Here's what a new cake looks like. There we go. So this is a cotton and acrylic blend. I'm using 2 strands held together, one of this light gray, and then I actually have it wound in individual balls just for simplicity's sake. So I'm holding the gray with the dark blue and then the gray with the light blue, and that's it. And I'm just striping these 2 into 4-row repeats. And it's going great. Like I said, it's pretty slow going just because of the weight and the hook that I'm using. It just takes a while, but that is totally okay. It is so enjoyable to work on. And like I said, it's so lightweight. So it's not like hot in the summer months, which is definitely needed. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to work on. So I'm hoping to have this done within the next couple of weeks. And then I think this pattern will release in August, I'm pretty sure, is like the deadline. So that's the plan in the back of my mind. But yeah, I'm having so much fun working on it. It's been a blast. And then I'm also working on a hat design. This is just a super simple beanie. I'm using Knit Picks Muse. I really just wanted to have like a basic Aran weight hat pattern. Aran is like that kind of weird yarn between worsted and bulky. It's just exactly in between the two, and it can be really hard to like size beanies or find a pattern that uses that weight. So that's exactly what I'm making. I'm using size 9 needles, and I already have the pattern written up and ready to go. So I'm just going to finish up this sample, and then I probably won't release it until like the fall. But it'll most likely be for free. Like, it's just a super simple beanie pattern. Stockinette, easy decreases, a 1x1 ribbed brim. Yeah, super simple. I kind of just really wanted to create it for my own sake, honestly, because I have a good bit of this yarn in stash and I wanted to use it up to make a bunch of hats. So that's exactly what I'm doing. And yeah, it's just been a fun, mindless project to work on while enjoying a show or just taking a few minutes to just knit. I love making hats so much, and I miss them so much during the spring and summer seasons. So yeah, I just had to make one. I had to make one real quick, and I love it. I love these colors too. So yeah, it also looks really cute with this shirt. I really love, yeah, I just love this color palette so much. And that is it for all of the knitting and crochet content for this episode. I do have a little devotional that I would love to share with you guys, a book that I recently finished reading. So let's go ahead and chat about that for a few minutes. So for devotional today, I wanted to talk about a book that I finished reading recently on my Kindle. I love this thing so much. The portability is absolutely amazing. I love just like walking outside and reading or taking it to work if I have a few minutes. It's just so easy to slip this in a bag or purse or whatever and take it to go. Much easier than taking like a whole big book. It's amazing. I love it so much. Anyway, so I recently read a book called Putting an X Through Anxiety by Louis Giglio. This is a book that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. I recently saw it at Hobby Lobby, and it was like a really good price for the actual physical copy of the book, but I decided not to buy it. And then that same day, it was on like a Kindle deal on Amazon, and it was 99 cents, which is crazy. So I bought it, and I read it in like a day. Like, I read it so quick. It's a pretty, I mean, it definitely, like, it's very thought-provoking. There's lots of things that I want to take away from this book, but it reads very smoothly and quickly. It's also a pretty short book. But it's just so good. If you struggle at all with anxiety or just like fear of the unknown or not knowing what's next, or yeah, if any of those things, if you can relate to any of those things at all, I highly recommend this book. He just talks about it in a way that is so real, because it is a real struggle for so many people, but also a way to conquer it in such a God-honoring way, in a way that gives all of the credit, all of the glory, and all of the all of the power to the one that it belongs to in the first place. So it's just yeah, it's really, really good. So one passage, there's so many things that I highlighted throughout this book, but one passage in particular I feel like sums up the message of the book really well, and I really love the way that he said what he said. So this is a quote from Louis Giglio from the book. He says, "Where we fix our eyes matters. We can spend our days looking at the things of this earth, and if we do that, our fixation will likely only grow bigger and bigger. But if we look up, if we gaze at the one who is seated at the right hand of God, the eyes of our heart will expand. And in doing so, the eyes of our heart will be enlightened with the beauty of God's perspective on how to rightly view our giant." I just really love the way that he said this, because obviously this passage can apply to so many things other than like just anxiety. It can apply to any seemingly giant thing that you're facing on this earth. As Christians, as humans, we're promised trials and hard things, hard seasons of life, and it can be exhausting to walk through it. It can be just really, really hard. But God doesn't leave us alone in that. He provides us a way out, and that's to give him all of the praise and all of the glory despite our current circumstances. And that's exactly what we're called to do. So anyways, I love this book. It was just very good for me to read personally. I definitely plan to read it again, honestly. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I'm not sure if it's still like on sale on Kindle. I kind of doubt it, honestly. I did share it on Instagram the day that I read it, I believe, but obviously that could have changed since then. So I will link it down below if you want to check it out. Like I said, I highly recommend it. It'd be awesome to have like the physical copy as well, but the Kindle version was just so much cheaper in the moment, and so it definitely, gave me the opportunity to read it. But yeah, in terms of a life update, that's kind of it. Lots of blanket making, apparently. Like I said, the family that I nanny for had their third little one, and so I got to meet her this past Friday, and it was just such a special moment. She's absolutely precious. I love that family and that job so much. So yeah, that's exciting. Second job is going smoothly. It is a lot of work, but it's good nonetheless for the most part. And yeah, that's about it. I hope that you are all having a great summer. I hope that you are staying cool, because goodness gracious, it has definitely been hot. I'm ready for it to cool down a little bit. I'm excited for fall, honestly. Summer has its place, it's good. But I'm definitely still looking forward to those cooler months as well. So anyways, I hope that you are having a great summer. I hope that you are filling your days with as much making as you can, or reading, or whatever brings you joy. I hope that you are just enjoying it. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all again next time. Bye.